It was an unusual scene in Caracas. Venezuelan President Nicolás Maduro dancing with his wife, Cilia Flores, smiling in front of students, as if nothing in the world were wrong. A strange moment of celebration at a time when tensions with the United States are rising sharply, and the region is buzzing with talk of conflict. Maduro joked, "Is it Friday? And what do we do on Friday? We celebrate. Venezuela wants peace, and tonight we're in party mode. Party, party. It's Friday, and I'm going out. No one can stop me." But behind the cheerful display lies a far more serious story. Let's connect the dots. U.S.-Venezuela tensions. What's actually happening? According to Reuters, the United States is preparing to move into a new phase of operations against Venezuela in the coming days. This information comes from conversations with 4 U.S. officials who spoke anonymously. 2 of them say the first stage would likely involve covert operations, and no option is off the table in terms of how far the U.S. might go. The situation became tense enough that the U.S. Federal Aviation Administration issued a warning to major airlines about potential hazards over Venezuelan airspace. Shortly after, multiple international carriers canceled flights departing from the country. A military buildup in the Caribbean tensions escalated further when the U.S. Navy's largest aircraft carrier, the USS Gerald R. Ford, arrived in the Caribbean on November 16 with its full strike group. The deployment includes more than 7 U.S. warships, a nuclear submarine, and F-35 fighter jets. For months, the U.S. has been increasing its military presence in the region, officially focusing on counter-narcotics operations. Since September, U.S. forces have launched at least 21 attacks on suspected drug smuggling vessels, killing more than 80 people, most of them in the Caribbean waters. Human rights organizations accuse Washington of carrying out extrajudicial killings. Even some U.S. allies have expressed concern that the operations may violate international law. Why are Trump and Maduro at odds? The Trump administration argues that Maduro is involved in drug trafficking networks, and senior Venezuelan officials run the so-called Cartel of the Suns. Maduro firmly denies this and insists the U.S. is targeting him to take control of Venezuela's vast oil reserves. Washington has taken several aggressive steps, designated Cartel of the Suns as a foreign terrorist organization, doubled the reward for information leading to Maduro's arrest, now $50 million, and gained legal authority to strike assets linked to Maduro's government. Could this turn into a war? Brazil, which shares a border with Venezuela, is deeply worried. President Lula said, "A war in South America makes no sense. We should not repeat the mistake of the Russia-Ukraine conflict. One shot can start a war, but no one knows how it ends." Interestingly, both sides have signaled some openness to dialogue. Trump has indicated he might be willing to consider talks. Maduro has also stated differences must be resolved through diplomacy. "I am ready for face-to-face discussions with anyone behind closed doors." There have already been conversations between Washington and Caracas, but it's unclear whether these talks will delay or reduce potential U.S. action. What happens if the U.S. moves first? If the situation escalates, here's what experts expect. Likely us. Approach precise. Strikes on drug-related, infrastructure expanded, covert operations, stronger sanction support for opposition groups, foiling ground troops. Unless absolutely necessary, Venezuela's preparations, Maduro's government has already initiated nationwide military mobilization, asymmetrical warfare, strategies, plans for prolonged resistance, and guerrilla tactics. The Venezuelan military is not considered strong, but it is prepared for long-term defensive fighting. Worst-case scenario: if the U.S. attempts a direct removal of Maduro, guerrilla warfare, mass civilian displacement, regional instability, rise of armed groups, and criminal networks, a post-Maduro power vacuum could be extremely destabilizing. Summary: a region on the brink. The U.S.-Venezuela standoff is becoming a higher-risk geopolitical flashpoint. If diplomacy fails, the consequences could be severe: prolonged violence, humanitarian disaster, massive instability across Latin America. Full-scale conflict is possible, but not inevitable. Back-channel talks are still happening, and diplomacy could still pull both sides back from the edge. For now, the world watches closely as tensions rise. This was another edition of Connecting the Dots. We'll return with more global developments and deeper analysis. Until then, stay informed, stay safe, and take care.